All right, diving into another deep dive with RoleCatcher. Anyone out there getting ready for an ICT Information and Knowledge Manager interview?
Sounds like it's time to break out those interview prep notes.
Definitely. And luckily, we've got RoleCatcher's guides, sample questions, to basically
Base your trove of info away.
yeah, we're going to take all that and try to like extract the pure gold and help people just totally nail this thing.
Exactly. Like, imagine this is your personal interview boot camp, but no, we're not going to make you do push-ups.
No push-ups required,
Right.
just a deep dive into real questions so you can ace that interview.
All right, so first up, a question that might seem simple, but it's a real chance to shine. What experience do you have in the ICT field?
Okay, yeah, so many people just list off all the software they've used, but we want to go deeper than that.
Yeah. How can we make this answer, like, really stand out?
It's got to be about showing real understanding, not just, checking boxes on a list.
Right.
Think about projects where you really went above and beyond. Maybe you led a digital transformation thing.
Ooh, or like a big knowledge management overhaul, something that really shows you were proactive.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at Microsoft Office,
Mm-hmm.
it's more like, I use Excel to streamline reporting and save the team like 10 hours a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Show the impact. Why'd you choose that project? What got you excited? That's where the passion comes in.
I love that. It's not just what you did, but why you were driven to do it.
Right.
Speaking of staying passionate, how do you tackle this one? How do you stay up to date with the latest ICT trends and developments?
This is all about showing you're a lifelong learner, right?
Right.
Don't just name drop buzzwords.
Right.
Talk about publications. You actually read conferences. You go to online communities you're part of. Maybe you contribute to open source projects or you're active in those industry forums.
So it's like showing them you're not just keeping up, you're actually shaping the conversation.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. Before the interview, research the company's tech stack and mention trends that connect to their work.
So smart. It's all about tailoring your answer to the specific role and company. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can be a game changer. Like it can actually analyze the job description
Yeah.
and suggest those relevant industry trends to bring up.
So smart.
Okay, let's tackle a question that I think we've all faced. How do you handle conflicting priorities and deadlines?
Oh, yeah. Everyone's been there feeling like a million tasks are swirling around.
Oh, absolutely. Just the other day, I had a presentation, do a website to update, and my cat decided shredding my notes was top priority.
Ha ha ha. Classic conflicting priorities. But in an interview, you want to show you've got a system for this.
Right.
This is where techniques like the Eisenhower matrix or the Pomodoro technique can be helpful.
I've dabbled in Pomodoro, but haven't really explored Eisenhower. Tell me more.
So the Eisenhower matrix helps you prioritize by urgency and importance. It's a great way to visualize your workload
Okay.
and make sure you're tackling the most critical things first.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at multitasking, it's more like, I use the Eisenhower matrix during a system migration, and we hit every deadline.
Yes. Show, don't tell. And don't be afraid to mention how you delegate tasks well
Right.
and communicate clearly to avoid bottlenecks. It's about showing you can lead under pressure.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can give you personalized feedback on your answer, suggest areas to improve, and skills to highlight.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to a question that lets you really shine. Can you describe a project you managed successfully in the past?
This is your chance to tell a story that showcases your leadership problem solving and the impact you made. Remember the STAR method?
Star.
Situation, task, action, result. It's a framework for structuring your response.
Oh, okay, like set the scene, describe the challenge, then outline the steps you took and the positive outcomes.
Precisely.
So instead of, I managed a software implementation, it's more like, we had a critical data security vulnerability. I assembled a team, implemented a new firewall, and boom, security breaches dropped by 50%.
Exactly. Quantifiable results. And make sure the project you pick aligns with the job you're going for, right? Like if they emphasize data analysis, talk about a project where you use data to make a key decision.
You got it. Connect the dots.
Yeah.
Show them your past experience directly relates to their needs.
All right. On to a question that gets at the core of the role. Can you give an example of how you have used data analysis to solve a problem?
Okay, yeah, this is where your passion for data-driven solutions comes in.
You know, it's funny. The other day I was looking at my sleep data and realized I sleep better when I listen to podcasts before bed. But seriously, this question is all about turning data into actionable insights. So how do we make our answers stand out?
Don't get lost in jargon. Focus on the so what? What was the problem? What data did you use? What insights did you get?
Hmm.
And most importantly, what action did you take based on those insights?
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the story they tell.
Exactly. For example, you could say, we had declining user engagement on our platform. I analyzed activity data and discovered content discoverability was a pain point. So I implemented a new search algorithm and engagement jumped 20%. Okay, that's a great example. It shows analytical skills, problem solving, and commitment to results.
Precisely. And RoleCatcher can help you brainstorm relevant projects and tailor your answer to the skills they're seeking.
Speaking of tailoring, let's move on to a question that really gets at the core of the role. How do you ensure that information and knowledge are managed effectively in your organization? This one feels big.
It requires a strategic approach. Think about the key functions in RoleCatcher's career guide.
Okay.
Defining information strategy, creating policies for knowledge creation and distribution, managing the evolution of information systems.
So it's not just being reactive, it's about setting the stage for effective information management.
Exactly. You want to show you can anticipate challenges and implement solutions before they become problems. You could talk about developing a knowledge management framework that improved collaboration and knowledge sharing across teams.
So instead of, I ensure information is managed well, it's more like, I implemented a framework that led to a 15% reduction in project delays and a 10% increase in employee satisfaction.
Yes. Impact. And don't forget to mention specific tools or tech you've used to facilitate information management.
Right, like a cloud-based document management system or a knowledge-sharing platform,
Exact.
showing your expertise in action.
Okay, now let's talk about embracing change. Can you give an example of how you have implemented a new technology or system in your organization?
It's like asking, are you comfortable with the status quo or are you always pushing for improvement? I love trying new tech.
That's great. But in an interview, you want to channel that into a structured answer.
Right.
The STAR method works here too. Describe the situation, the tech you implemented, the challenges, and the positive outcomes.
So instead of just, I implemented a new CRM, it's more like, we were facing declining customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
I led the implementation of a new cloud-based CRM that streamlined everything, improved response times, and we saw a 10% increase in customer retention.
Perfect. It shows technical skills, leadership, project management, and focus on results.
It's like connecting the dots, showing them you're not just tech savvy, you're business savvy too.
Exactly. Speaking of business savvy, let's look at how do you ensure that information security is maintained in your organization?
This is huge. It seems like every day there's another headline about a data breach.
It is a big deal.
It's scary stuff. How could we take it seriously?
Show your proactive approach. Talk about specific security measures you've implemented, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, data encryption.
So it's not just about having a password policy, it's about a comprehensive strategy.
Right. And mention any relevant certifications you have, like the CISSP.
I've heard of CISSP. What makes it so valuable?
CISSP stands for Certified Information Systems Security Professional.
Okay.
It's globally recognized and validates your knowledge in designing, implementing, and managing secure systems. Having that certification shows potential employers you're dedicated to the highest security standards.
That's impressive. It's like a seal of approval from the security experts.
You got it. Okay, let's wrap up this section with how do you ensure that knowledge is transferred effectively between team members?
This highlights the human side of information management, right?
It does. It's about leadership and building a collaborative culture.
It's recognizing that knowledge is power, and sharing it empowers everyone.
Exactly. Think about tools and techniques you've used to make this happen, mentoring knowledge-sharing platforms, team meetings.
So instead of, I encourage knowledge sharing, it's, I implemented a mentoring program that reduced onboarding time by 20% and boosted team productivity by 15%.
Yes, quantify that impact and mention how you foster open communication and encourage people to ask questions and learn from each other.
Creating that learning environment where knowledge is valued and shared freely.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can give you personalized feedback on your answer and highlight those key leadership skills.
It's like having a coach in your corner, helping you refine your answers and present yourself in the best possible light. But we're just getting started. In the next part, we'll explore how RoleCatcher can be your secret weapon in acing this interview.
Looking forward to it. All right, welcome back. We've covered some tough interview questions for ICT information and knowledge managers, but now let's see how RoleCatcher can really level up your prep.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I'm ready to hear how this AI works. It's magic.
Picture this. You're working on your CV, and RoleCatcher's AI is like your personal career strategist.
Okay.
It analyzes the job description, ticks out those keywords that make algorithms happy, and helps you highlight the right skills.
That's so helpful. Especially these days, it's all about standing out from the crowd. But it goes beyond just getting past the robots, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. RoleCatcher isn't just about beating the bots, it helps you refine your answers to those common interview questions.
Okay.
You can practice with over 120,000 questions and get AI-powered feedback tailored to the specific role you want.
Hold on, so I can actually practice answering those tough questions and get feedback on how to improve.
That's amazing! I wish I had that back when I was interviewing. Tell me more, like how does that work? Okay, so let's say you're practicing your answer to, how do you stay up to date with the latest ICT trends and developments?
Okay.
RoleCatcher's AI won't just say good or bad, it'll actually analyze your response. Maybe suggest being more specific or recommend relevant industry trends to mention even highlight key skills based on the job description.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal interview coach right there in my pocket.
Right.
This could be a total game changer for anyone going for an ICT information and knowledge manager role.
I think so. And remember that question about implementing new technology.
Yeah?
RoleCatcher can make sure you're highlighting the right leadership skills and even suggest quantifiable results to make your impact clear.
So it's not just knowing the answers, it's about presenting them in a way that really clicks with the hiring manager.
Exactly. That personal touch can make you feel so much more confident and prepared going into that interview.
It really does feel like having a team of experts in your corner.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about skills and achievements, but what about that passion piece? How do you let your enthusiasm for ICT really shine through in an interview?
It's all in how you tell your story. When you're talking about a project you're proud of, let that excitement come through in your voice. Smile, make eye contact, let your personality out a little.
It's about showing them you're not just a candidate, you're a person who's genuinely excited about this work.
Exactly. And remember, interviews are a two-way street.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's as much about you checking them out as them checking you out.
You want to make sure the company and the role are a good fit for you too.
Absolutely. So ask thoughtful questions. Be engaged. Show your curiosity.
Like what?
Ask about their approach to knowledge management, their investment in new tech, their commitment to information security.
Those are great questions. And if
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank, RoleCatcher has a whole section on questions to ask the interviewer, all tailored to the role and industry.
They really have thought of everything. That's why I love RoleCatcher. They give you all these tools and resources to really put your best foot forward.
Speaking of best foot forward, let's circle back to information security. That's a big one these days.
It really is.
How can we show we're not just talking the talk, but walking the walk on data security?
It's not just about mentioning firewalls and encryption.
Right.
It's about showing you understand the evolving threat landscape and that you're proactive about mitigating risk. You could talk about implementing a security awareness training program for employees or maybe conducting vulnerability assessments.
So going beyond the basics and showing you're thinking strategically about security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you have certifications like that CISSEP we talked about, definitely highlight those.
Right. It shows you're committed to staying ahead of the curve on security practices.
You got it. Okay, before we move on, let's talk about something that can be a little awkward. Salary expectations.
Yeah, good point. It's always a bit nerve-wracking.
Do your research know the salary range for similar roles in your area? And don't be afraid to discuss your expectations openly.
And RoleCatcher can help with that too, right?
They do. They have a salary insights tool that gives you data on average salaries, taking into account things like location experience and industry.
That's so helpful. Takes the guesswork out and helps you advocate for what you're worth.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot from interview questions to RoleCatcher's amazing resources.
We have.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet. And the next part, we have a special guest joining us.
Oh, yeah.
Someone who's been on both sides of the interview table, hiring and being hired for these exact roles.
Can't wait to hear their insights. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our ICT information and knowledge manager interview prep with a special guest.
Ooh, yeah. I'm excited for this.
Someone who's been on both sides of the hiring table, both hiring and being hired for these roles.
Perfect timing, because we've been breaking down questions and looking at how RoleCatcher can help candidates get ready, but now we get the real-world perspective.
Right. Someone who's actually been in the trenches. So welcome to the show. We're really diving deep into what it takes to ace that ICT information and knowledge manager interview.
So welcome.
We've covered a lot, but we'd love to hear from your experience what really makes a candidate stand out in this field.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've interviewed so many people over the years,
I bet.
and what always gets me is that genuine passion for the field. It's not just listing off technical skills, it's about showing a deep understanding of how ICT can really drive business value.
That makes sense. We've been talking about showcasing passion this whole time, and it sounds like it's even more important than we thought. But what else? What are some specific qualities or skills that really catch your eye?
Strong communication skills are key.
Yeah.
This role involves working with all sorts of teams and explaining complex stuff to people who aren't technical.
Hmm.
A candidate who can communicate clearly and get their ideas across, that's gold.
We talked about communication earlier, especially for questions like, how do you ensure knowledge is transferred effectively between team members? Is that a common area where people stumble?
Oh yeah, a lot of people get stuck on tools and technologies, but they forget that knowledge transfer is really about people. If you can build that open communication, encourage people to listen and mentor your team, that's what makes you stand out.
It's not just the what, it's the how, and it sounds like showing those people skills is just as important as the tech stuff.
Absolutely. Another area where people miss the mark is problem solving. This role is all about tackling tough challenges and finding creative solutions.
Okay.
So when you're talking about your experience, don't just describe the situation.
Right.
Walk me through your thought process. How did you approach the problem? What data did you use? What were the roadblocks and how did you overcome them?
It's like we always say, show, don't just tell. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful. It can look at your practice answers and make sure you're highlighting those problem-solving steps to make your response more impactful.
It's like having a virtual mentor pushing you to think more strategically.
Exactly. And speaking of strategic thinking, leadership is another crucial quality I look for in ICT information and knowledge manager candidates. This role is often about leading initiatives, driving change, and inspiring teams.
So how can someone show their leadership potential in an interview? It's not like they're going to be running a team meeting right there.
It's about showing those qualities through how you tell your story. When you talk about a project you led, highlight how you motivated your team, delegated effectively, and handled conflicts. Even if you haven't had a formal leadership title, you can still show that you can influence others and get results.
And that goes back to tailoring your answers. If leadership is a big part of the job description, make sure your examples highlight those skills. RoleCatcher can even help you pinpoint those keywords.
It's like having a personal branding expert helping you craft the perfect story for the role.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have to ask about salary expectations.
Well, yeah.
It's always a little nerve-wracking.
Be prepared, do your research, and know your worth. Don't be afraid to talk about your expectations openly and honestly.
And RoleCatcher has that salary insights tool too.
So you can get a realistic idea of what's fair based on your experience and the role.
It's all about having that knowledge so you can confidently advocate for what you deserve.
This has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much, but before we go, any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are getting ready for those interviews?
Preparation is key. Use the resources we've talked about, practice your answers, and go in knowing you've done everything you can to succeed.
And don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's website for all those amazing tools and resources.
Yes, they can make a huge difference in your job search. Thanks so much for joining us today. This was fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.
And to everyone listening, remember, you've got this. The ICT world needs your talent and expertise. Go out there and make it happen.